Welcome to the Mind Myself podcast. I'm Esther, and it is my pleasure to be bringing you information about healthcare approaches, health issues, and people's health journey stories, all from the complementary, holistic, and integrative perspectives, helping you become your own best health advocate and helping you make your own informed choices because you matter. Welcome to Mind Myself Conversations with E. I'm Esther, and I am so pleased to share with you my guest for today, Francois de Neuville. Did I say that correctly, Francois?
Almost great. Francois de Neuville. Yeah, it's a difficult name. No worries.
Thank you. We'll get it right on the next time. Thank you. So, Francois, tell the listener today a little bit about who you are and why you're coming to us.
Yeah, thank you, Esther, and hi, everyone. So my name is Francois. I'm from Belgium. I'm a former commando paratrooper. I'm a husband, an adventurer, an entrepreneur, and a tsunami survivor. For a living, I'm a high-performance coach, speaker, and writer. I help people master the time, master themselves, so they can live an epic life.
Awesome, an epic life. I love it. And so interesting. Our topic today is pain versus suffering, or pain and suffering, and an epic life. Some might say, well, what does that have to do with an epic life? So how would you start that conversation with somebody?
Yeah, well, to live an epic life, you're going to have to master yourself, right? And mastering yourself is mastering your physical body, your emotion, your mental, and your spirituality. I mean, it's all those different pillars. Now, there is a part of the human life that we encounter pain, right? This is inevitable. We're going to have it. And I'm sorry for all of you, but it's still going to happen in your life because this is just part of the journey. And pain is a very, very useful signal because it signals to the body that something is not right, either in your physical body or in your emotional body. So a lot of time, like, I don't want to have pain anymore. Pain is great. If we would not have pain, we would die with no warning. So we should not want to have pain. The difference between pain and suffering is that suffering is actually what we do with that pain, right? We have pain and something triggers pain, and then we refuse that pain. We don't want to accept that pain, and that causes suffering. And that's when the problem are coming. That's where we start getting into this frustration and this resistance to actually what happened and what we cannot change. All right. So this is really basic, the difference between pain and suffering. They goes together, but one is inevitable and the other one, it's a choice.
It's a choice. That's a big statement. And I've heard people talk about suffering being optional. Let's take a little dive into that for a few minutes.
Yeah, it's quite a controversial statement because nobody chooses to suffer, at least not consciously. And that's the big difference, right? Because what would we suffer on purpose? No, we would not do that. But suffering is an option because when we have the pain, we can decide how we react to that pain. What do we do with it? I think the best example is to take a child. If you look at a child, there is a trigger that causes pain. The child is fully expressing what he's feeling in the moment, and then is doing what makes the most sense. And what makes the most sense is not to stick around with the pain or to resist it, right? So you could see a kid running, falling down, crying, being hurt, and then 2 minutes later, being happy again and playing again. Like, how did he do that? Yeah, we are all the capacity to do that. But when we grow up, we develop this resistance to what's happening. We develop this, I don't want this to happen in my life. Like, whatever it can be, you lose someone or whatever dramatic stuff is in your life, you're like, no, I don't want it, I refuse it. And so because we refuse reality, we create suffering. And in this sense, suffering is a choice because we don't have to do it. Now, of course, it's not like, okay, I don't suffer, finished. No, of course not. This is not how it goes, right? Definitely not. But I'm saying with this that we are kind of responsible for our own state. I do agree that for some people, when you have some mental issues, you cannot really have full control of that. But if you don't, I mean, when you have pain, it's your decision to decide to stick with the pain and create suffering, or to accept the pain, make peace with whatever happened, and move on. That doesn't mean that you need to ignore the pain. And I really want to be careful with that, because I'm not telling you, you have pain and you say like, oh no, okay, my life is perfect, great. No, that's not what I'm saying at all, right? I think after having a painful event in your life, it's so important to fully express yourself, to fully experience the pain, because it's there for a reason. And it teaches us a lot of things. So it should never be ignored. But we can have this conscious process of looking at ourselves and how we deal with that pain and how much suffering we create. And I'm sure we can all relate to that, having an event in our life that created pain, then we suffered about it. And somehow after months, days, years, decades, depends, suddenly the suffering is not there anymore, right? We can choose to reduce that gap by being more aware about it and deciding to release, to make peace with it sooner than later, right? And I can tell I've been going through intense PTSD in my life because of surviving a double natural disaster. And I said it in my introduction, I survived a tsunami where 4,000 people died that day. And I saw a lot of horrible stuff, and it really impacted me. Like, that was a traumatic event. There is no way to put it better than that. And I was after that with so much pain, and it created so much suffering. Why the suffering? Because I kept telling myself, why is this happening? I lost friends. It was like, why me? Why that? Why this happened to people? Why do people have to suffer so much? And I was so resisting life. I was fighting what is. I was fighting what happened already with no control whatsoever on it. And that created so much suffering. And I was in this very dark place. And I had this really big insight one day. I was thinking about all the people I lost. And I realized I am still alive. For all the people that lost their life, I got a second chance. I got to make the most out of it. I mean, to honor the memory, at least I'm still here. Why would I keep being miserable? And that day, from being a victim of my situation, I became a survivor. Now, same event, same pain, never changed. But the way I deal with it was completely different. Suddenly, the suffering faded away. And that's the distinction I want to say. The longer we stick with the situation, with the pain of the situation, as a victim of the situation, the longer we suffer. The moment we can...
Yeah. Right, but how do we start that? Like, someone might say, well, you're a high performance coach and, you know, you've got your life together. I'm just at the beginning of my journey and I just feel like I'm suffering all the time. How do I even start that conscious process?
Yeah. There is one thing that I learned, and it's just to trust life. And I can tell I was so mad at life. I was really angry at life. If I had one person to blame, one thing to blame, that was life. I was like, screw you, life. And then I realized, like, we can trust life. It doesn't give us always what we want, and most likely not, but most of the time it's what we need. And even though we cannot see it in the moment, I mean, you would have told me that when I was there dealing with PTSD, I would have punched you in the face. I was not in a place to accept any of that, right? But with time, I really understood, actually, this traumatic event did turn for the better. It changed my life for the better. It was really difficult to say that at first, because like, well, that's horrible. 4,000 people died. Yeah, of course. It's still horrible. It doesn't change anything, but it really made me who I am today. And thanks to this, I'm helping so many people. I'm on purpose. I'm living a life to serve others. And this came all from that moment. I love this quote that said, sometimes beautiful gifts come wrapped in ugly paper.
Right. Let's say that again and just pause for a moment. Say that again, please.
Sometimes beautiful gifts come wrapped in ugly paper. If you trust life, if you decide to trust that, you know, this thing happened to me and this is really hurting, but you know what? I don't see how it can be good for me right now, but I trust that it will be. I trust that with time, I'm going to see how this is helping me to become the person I'm going to become. Having this faith in life, having this trust is really empowering, because you trust that whatever happened is happening for the betterment of you, even though it's suffering, even though it's difficult, even though you need support to get through that. This is a choice we can make. And that's, in my sense, this is what I mean by suffering is optional. Most likely suffering is going to happen to you unconsciously anyway, but getting out of the suffering, deciding to stop it, this is a conscious decision.
And what if somebody, say a woman watching this, is hearing the conversation, hearing what you say, and says, yeah, but I'm in a really difficult situation and I don't know how to get out of it. Now you're telling me just to trust life, but something has to change. I can't just stay here because this is really hard.
I totally understand. Yeah. So I'm not selling dreams here. I'm not like clapping the fingers and you should be happy. That absolutely not, right? No, what I'm suggesting is that the more you reflect on it, the more you empower yourself. Now, if you stay stuck in a situation as a victim of it, you don't grow, you don't go anywhere. Now you can do the work of thinking, okay, what in this situation am I learning? The moment you're able to say that, like, for example, if I would relate my story and say, I survived a double natural disaster that was horrible, blah, 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 victim statement. If I said, I survived a double natural disaster, and this taught me to value life, to value time, to make a priority of the people around me, and to live every single day of my life to the fullest, because we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Same event, same pain, different perspective on it, right? So when I work with people, I'm not a therapist. This is not my field, right? But what I learned through my experience is like we can rephrase and change the story that we tell ourselves about a certain event. And if we are focusing on seeing how we are a victim of it, we stay in that role. If we dare to take the courage to take perspective on that and say, okay, what have I learned here? What is the lesson that life is teaching me? So moving forward, I can make better choices for myself. This is very empowering because suddenly we change the script.
Right. And if somebody's directly in the middle of pain and feeling suffering, sometimes what I'm hearing you say is you have to take a breath. You have to get out of the situation, perhaps, or even if you can't yet, look at it very carefully and start to think about it in a different way. And then give yourself some options and choices. What can I do? What is my next step? How do I shift how I'm thinking about it in this moment, but how does that affect the choices I'm going to make going forward?
Yeah, exactly. And I would add on that first, allow yourself the possibility to fully experience the pain, right? We should not look at it. It's there for a reason. It's a signal for your body to say there is something wrong there. Something needs to change. Something needs to be different, right? Or in the future or in the present. So allow yourself to experience that pain. Be mad, cry, let it out, because it's there for a reason. We are such in a world like, don't show your emotion, don't show your feelings too much, don't cry, put a mask on. I mean, we suppress that. It's still here. So we should really allow ourselves to express it fully. Secondly, there is no shame to ask for help. So many people are in difficult situations and they don't dare to ask. We should ask others like, hey, I need support here. And that can be a professional support. That can just be a friend say, hey, I need to talk to you about something. I don't need you to say anything. I just want to hug after. I just want to be listened to. Could you hold the space for me? This is as simple as that, right? It's a bit harsh. And I was just talking with my wife about that recently. I keep saying that to people for the moment. Nobody is going to come to save you. As hard as it sounds, you're going to have to save yourself, right? And it's easier to not take responsibility of that, but you're the only one who can. So I think all those steps all together really helps to move forward and slowly fading the suffering away. And there's one thing that I want to share extra is that sometimes we feel we need to stay longer in the pain, in the suffering, so it makes the pain bigger, and we can be acknowledged by others that we are actually in pain. And I experienced that because a few months after, people were asking me how I was doing. I was like, yeah, I'm doing better. And I was thinking in the mind, thinking, oh, that must not have been that bad. I mean, it's been 2 months or 3 months and then now it's okay. And I realized, who cares actually? Who cares? Do I need the world to know that I'm suffering? Is it going to help me heal my suffering? I don't think so. So why am I deciding to suffer? For what is the reason? And a lot of time, I can tell, people want to be acknowledged by others, right? And if you're not acknowledged by others naturally, just ask people for help. That was what I was saying. Now, if you are, just make the decision that makes the most sense. And usually it's not to stick with the suffering.
Right. Again, we come back to that powerful statement. Suffering is optional, and there are strategies we can use to shift that and move from victim mindset into a more open-hearted and learning mindset that helps us move into a new state.
Exactly.
Such a powerful conversation, and I'm sure that we could spend hours talking about this, but I think we're nearing the end of our time together, Francois, and this has been so great. Is there something you'd like to leave the listener with today? Something that you could say that would encourage them to take the next step in their own personal journey?
Yeah. Pain is inevitable. It's going to happen again. It's never too late or never too early to start preparing yourself, to equip yourself with the tools to help you navigate those times when they come. Remember that it's part of life, and trust life for giving you exactly what you need, even though it's not what you want all the time, right? I want to leave you with this, that you have more choices than you think. Be aware of the story you're creating for yourself. You can change the script by deciding, as Esther, you just said, to go from a victim to become a survivor. And how you do that, you look for the lessons, you look for the learning in any situation. It doesn't make the pain go away. No, the pain will never go away, but the suffering will. And this is what is important. Thank you very much.
Such a great note to leave us on, Francois. Thank you so much for being here with us today and talking about a really important conversation. And your contact details we will share with our audience in the screens below. So thank you again for being here with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being with us at the Mind Myself podcast today. We know that time is precious and you've spent some of your valuable time with us. We're grateful. If you would like to reach out to our guests directly, the information is below. And if you would like more from Mind Myself, that information is also below. Please visit our website and check out all the information about the different complementary, holistic, and integrative healthcare approaches, information about health issues, more podcasts, tons of blogs, and we even have a community page for you where you could reach out and tell your story safely, or you could ask questions and perhaps somebody else in the world is going through something similar to you. In any case, we're so glad you're with us, and we're doing this because you matter.